So another part of my mother wounding, y'all. And it's sad because I still remember this. My youngest sibling had to have been maybe two. Had to have been maybe two. My baby brother wasn't born yet. Had to have been my little brother was two in the stroller still. My little sister had to have been 5, 6, and I was a little bit older, and then it was my oldest brother or whatever and stuff. And I remember we were in a shelter in, I believe, it was either Enola or it was York, PA. I believe. And I remember our mom leaving us there claiming that she was going to work or whatever and shit like that. And of course, during the shelter, during the daytime, they let you, they let the kids out to go play and at the playground and stuff like that or whatever. And at the shelter, you had to bring your own food. You had to supply your own food and stuff like that. They didn't really have much and shit like that. And the stuff that they did have, of course, as kids, we don't want no shit like that. So, mind you, my baby brother was at least two. He might have been a little bit younger than that because he was on baby food still, like the little Gerber baby jars and shit like that. So I remember, always being the protector of my siblings and shit like that. And like I tell everybody, my brothers and sisters was never my mom's kids. They was my kids. Okay, because I protected them, I took care of them, I nurtured them. When she would just leave us up and leave us and go to work, when she was really chasing behind a nigga and shit like that. I remember one day getting my brothers and sisters together and stuff like that, and it was a grocery store up the street, and my brother ain't have nothing to eat. He ain't have nothing to eat. My oldest brother ain't know how to scramble an egg. He know how to scramble an egg. I had to make food for us. Like, mind you, all the parents and stuff like that and the other kids was at school and shit like that. We wasn't even in school. We was left there and shit like that or whatever, and it was people in the shelter who was kind of looking out for us and shit like that, but wasn't really paying attention to us. So I gathered us up, and I remember, and I can call my little sister out here and she can vouch for me. And it's crazy that, being that young and still remember and shit like that. We would go to the grocery store and shit like that, and we would have to steal baby food. We would have to steal baby food. We would have to steal formula. We would have to do that to feed our brothers and sisters and shit like that. Steal eggs, like out the carton and stick it in the stroller type shit or whatever to bring it back to scramble a fucking egg so we could eat. We were abandoned as children. Like, we was abandoned and shit like that. Now, mind you, I get things were different back in the day and shit like that, but that's not an excuse. And I'm not making an excuse because I don't give a fuck how different the times was. I could never leave my child like that, like, to fend for herself and shit like that because I want to chase behind a nigga. But again, that was part of my mother wounding that I've healed, and I've acknowledged it and I made peace. I've acknowledged it and I've made peace with it, and I've also released it with or without, an apology or, getting that conversation out of my mom, because that's just never gonna happen. She's not in the point of her life, it's like you getting old now. Like, you got one foot out the door, one foot in the grave. And I'm still never going to get that apology. I'm never going to get that conversation on why or what. She's never going to take accountability for that shit. And I really feel like, she's going to blame us for a lot of the shit that happened in her life. But like I said, nobody told you to lay down and had us. You should have learned to swallow. But you was gulping up everybody and doing all that, honey. You should have told them to nut on your lip. You should have told them to nut on your lip. Instead, you let them bust it wide open and you brought that shit right back. And you had us. We didn't ask to be here. We didn't ask to be here. But we were sent here and we chose you as our mother. So you should have learned from that, and you should have did what you were supposed to do. And like I said, I'm not knocking my mother. At the end of the day, she gonna have to reap what she sow, and that's exactly why none of her kids fuck with her now. She literally don't have none of her kids in her life, and she be thinking that my oldest brother fuck with her and shit like that or whatever. That's why he be up there on that farm and his own business and stuff like that, and you ain't met his kid. You don't got none of your kids. You back at square one again, but it's okay because, like you said, you ain't want us anyway. So it ain't no sweat off your motherfucking back. But you know what? I pray for my mom. I pray for my dad. I pray for my family. I pray for all the wickedness and the crookedness that's going on between the families and stuff like that or whatever. But like I said, I'm learning to heal from it. But that's part of some of the mother wounding for me. We're gonna get into the other woundings and the father woundings and all that soon. We taking it step by step, y'all. Love and light always.